The beachfront in Negril is disappearing at an alarming rate. Several property owners on the famous 7-mile stretch have lamented the rapid decrease in property value and visitor satisfaction because of the swiftly eroding coastline. This is what the beachfront looks like at Shields Resort just over a decade ago. This is what it looks like today. A much shorter beach for visitors to enjoy, and that has the owners concerned.
The biggest concern to me right now as a hotelier is the whole issue of the beach erosion. That is our major issue right now.
It's estimated that the tourism industry in Negril will lose some $15 per unsatisfied visitor over the next decade if the beach erosion continues at the rate it's at now. However, that figure doubles if the beaches disappear at a faster rate.
We're seeing higher rates of erosion in the last 10 to 20 years along the Negril Strip. Areas that were as wide as, say, a football field are now just a narrow strip.
This is the Bloody Bay Beach in Negril, and persons who've lived here for years say that up to a decade ago the shoreline was somewhere out there. But due to several years of erosion and beach degradation, the sea has crept closer and closer in. Environmentalists say if the erosion continues at this rate, within another decade, where I'm now standing will be completely underwater. In order to understand what's happening to the beaches in Negril, you first have to get a picture of how ecosystems in the environment interlink. For example, coral reefs are critical to marine life and also play an important role in stemming beach erosion. On the other hand, wetlands are vital to the preservation of the coral reefs. Environmentalists in Negril believe that the main reasons behind Negril's disappearing beaches are the damage that have been done to the wetlands and the coral reef.
If the coral reef is dying or dead, then you don't have that barrier reef to break the wave whenever it's coming in. Within the Negril area, we have a couple of barrier reefs or wave breakers, and most of them are dead or dying. So we have this whenever we have like wave action or hurricane or a rough sea. You know, we don't have that barrier reef anymore like we used to break the wave.
The pollution that is coming from land, because the wetlands have been degraded, so they aren't able to filter that pollutant. A larger pollution load is impacting the reef.
The search for answers to the real source of Negril's beach erosion problem took the Rural Connection team to the Great Negril Morass. This particular wetland is the first line of defense against pollution for Negril's many famous beaches. But that is changing, as the hydrology of the morass has been altered significantly over the years.
What had happened with this wetland is that in the late 1950s to early 60s, the Ministry of Agriculture had drained the wetland to promote farming in the northern sections of it. So they dug a canal running called the East Canal, and then they channelized two rivers, streams really. So they widened it and to allow the water to flow faster to the coast. So that made the water drain faster from the wetland. The Ministry of Agriculture was perhaps well-intentioned because they wanted to encourage economic development, but I don't think serious thought was given to how that action to promote agriculture would have affected the natural functions of the wetland and by extension the functions that the wetland performs to protect the beach and coral reef environment.
Since the wetland is now much drier than it should be, it can no longer function effectively in its primary role as a filtration system between land and sea.
The wetlands tend to provide critical functions that protect, for example, the beach and the coral reefs. One, they filter pollutants naturally. So, for example, contaminants that come in water that runs over land gets filtered through soil through plant uptake, through the plant roots. Also, the volumes of water that flow from overland gets held in the wetland because the wetland tends to act as a sponge, so it slows down the transport of overland surface drainage to the coastal area. In doing that, it traps sediments from flowing to the coastal area, so we can see the clean blue looking water in the beach areas. When you change the characteristic of a wetland, its ability to perform those functions get diminished. So water flows, it goes faster to the sea, and because it's going faster to the sea, there's not enough time for what vegetation and the ecosystem that is there to actually remove pollutants. So your pollution load going to the coral reefs and to the beach environment is going to be much higher than if the wetland was intact.
Replenishing eroded beaches in Negril has to start with restoring the ecological balance of the Great Negril Morass.
Negril stakeholders are currently lobbying for the minister to support us in an effort to do some restoration of this wetland, as well as to address the beach erosion issue in Negril. More people are now affected directly, and the symptoms of the damage are now more pronounced. Also, the symptoms are showing up in areas that we care about. So while, for example, we've not traditionally valued wetlands, we value going to the beach, or we value the income that the country earns from the beach, because Negril's tourism economy is built around the beach strip.
So, as environmentalists continue to urge the government and the general public to do all they can to protect Negril's natural resources, and in doing so preserve the livelihood of persons living and working in the resort town, the fight to save the famous 7-mile stretch is just beginning. Reporting for Live at 7, I'm Kaneal Gayle.